Crews are working to get a handle on blazes burning in 4 forests across the state, one about 50 miles east of Charlotte. An evacuation order remains for part of Polk County, North Carolina. CWP and WMBF. I'm Jennifer King.
On Wall Street again, the Dow down by 649 points. The Nasdaq dropped 497. More at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members to the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976. 5.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
A sell-off hit Wall Street after President Trump said tariffs he had announced earlier on Canada and Mexico would take effect within hours. The S&P 500 dropped 1.8% after Mr. Trump said there was no room left for negotiations that could lower tariffs set to begin Tuesday on Canadian and Mexican imports. That dashed Wall Street's hopes that the president would choose a less painful path for global trade, and it followed the latest warning signal on the U.S. economy's strength. The Dow dropped 1.5%. The Nasdaq slumped 2.6%. The blue chips were down 649 points today to close at 43,191. The Nasdaq Composite lost 497 to 18,350. The S&P 500 dropped 104 points to 5849. With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds rolling in this evening. Our low temperature dips down to 37. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine, and a high topping out at 71. For Wednesday, that's the storm day. Heavy rains likely the first half of the day before we do clear out in the late afternoon. It'll also be our warmest day of the week, the high is 75. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point.
Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All righty, good evening. Welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Great to have you with us on this Monday, your best 2 hours of any day, including a Monday when I know you hate getting out of bed on Monday. You hate getting out of the house. You hate going to work. Not us. No, we love that 11 o'clock wake-up call, and, well, you don't get to sleep to 11? Who doesn't get to sleep to 11 anymore? I thought that was sort of the national trend. We love getting up and getting after it, and that's what we got for you tonight. A lot of stuff to cover. We're going to get into everything. Chris Bergen is with us from Pensacola, site of the Sun Belt Basketball Tournament, which begins this week. Tournament action actually began over the weekend, but the first layer of tournaments to be played this week, the rest next week, and then into the big tournaments, and we'll see where things develop from a Clemson standpoint. and the South Carolina women's standpoint, those are the two that are certainly locked in to NCAA tournament play. Everything else is just a wish for everybody right now. But before we dive into all that, in the baseball weekend, Clemson sweeping the Gamecocks. The basketball weekend, South Carolina impressive in beating Arkansas at home. Clemson impressive in winning on the road. And the South Carolina women with a strong win at home. And, of course, Dawn Staley always gets what she wants, and she wanted to win that coin toss, so she won that. So the USC women, number 1 seed for the SEC tournament in Greenville. Matt Smith will be there in Greenville later this week covering that for us. So before we get into all that, the news coming out this morning on a Monday to kind of get things rolling is that basically tomorrow you have got Board of Trustee meetings at Clemson and Florida State and a meeting of the Atlantic Coast Conference President's Council, all reportedly to vote on and agree to a settlement in the lawsuits brought by Florida State, which filed suit back in December of 2023, and Clemson, who filed suit in March of 2024. And it would appear that when you have a settlement, and by the way, for those who pay attention here on Sports Talk, we said over a year ago that this would end up in a settlement. Clemson and Florida State were not going to go anywhere. We're not going to find a place to go, and I think that's still the case. But the ACC trying to calm the waters, keep everyone together that they've got now, made some major concessions to Clemson and Florida State in particular, and to the league in general, by coming to a compromise in which the more you win, the more you make. If you perform at a high level, you draw TV ratings at a high level, you're winning championships, you're going to the NCAA tournaments, you're going to get a bigger cut of the money than the teams that do not do that. And thus, for like a Clemson and a Florida State and maybe a North Carolina and who else, maybe a Miami, Duke in basketball, etc., they feel like that will push them closer because they have the weaker of the TV deals. It'll push them closer to what the SEC and Big Ten teams are making annually from their take-home. So it's sort of a kind of a win-win situation, Chris, in that the ACC gets to stay together. They get to keep two of their marquee brands in the family. On the other hand, Clemson and Florida State feel like they walk away with a better financial situation, a better financial position for their programs, even though it costs upwards of $5 million in legal fees for Clemson, from what Larry Williams reported at Tiger Illustrated, between $3 and $5 million. That will, of course, be made up by the money that they make on the flip side here. And, of course, they made, because of the new arrangement, which was already in place, the $4 million that Clemson made for making the the college football playoff, that pretty much paid for your legal fees right there. So they can thank Nolan Hoosier for paying for the legal fees against the ACC.
The kick that got them through the courtroom, evidently. And, I mean, if you're a free market guy, this is outstanding stuff for Clemson and Florida State. The Atlantic Coast Conference is now the only free market sort of situation where, the haves get better and the have-nots don't move up the ladder. I mean, you look around the rest of college sports, and for the most part, I mean, I hate to bring politics in here, but I think it makes my point. It's sort of a socialist approach in the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12, where all the conference schools, regardless of how good you are, get the same chunk of the pie. Now, my question is, Phil, you said the ACC stays together. My question is, how long, though, before the bottom feeders in here say, look, we can't compete in this, the Pittsburghs of the world and Georgia Techs, though they're getting better at football, but some of the schools that have struggled for a long, long time, this is not going to improve their lot in life if Clemson and Florida State are assuming that Florida State bounces back, and I think we believe they will, soaking up all the football revenue, and then North Carolina and Duke, and now Clemson making a move on the men's basketball side, soaking up all the men's basketball revenue. I mean, the teams that have not performed, Vanderbilt and the SEC gets the same check cut to them that Alabama and LSU does. This is not the case here in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and I think what it's going to do is drive a wedge between the haves of the ACC and the have-nots of the Atlantic Coast Conference. I don't know if that's good or bad for college sports. Maybe it's time to see some of these TV deals get cut down to bare economics, where if you're putting the money into your program and you're putting the product on the court or the field or the diamond, you deserve to get more of the revenue back.
Where are they going to go, though? I mean, that's
a great question.
Where's a bottom feeder in the ACC going to want to go? I mean, they would rather have the scraps that are going to be thrown their way compared to having no place at all to go to, which they obviously have no place to go. So they're just going to have to take it. I mean, this is Clemson and Florida State wielding their big hammer, and the rest are just going to have to take it or step it up. And again, let's don't leave out. I mean, who else in that league would you put in the category? Miami. I'm talking about brand-wise. Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina. I mean, Duke doesn't get the respect. They've had a nice run in football going back the last 3 years. Yeah. Of course, their basketball is fantastic. Their baseball is
school, exactly.
Their baseball is pretty strong. And their so-called Olympic sports, they're very good in a lot of different sports there. They just don't, outside of basketball, they just don't have the reputation that the other schools have from a football standpoint. But their football has been good here of late. But here is the other thing. I mean, Clemson and Florida State staying put, but it is a diminished ACC. I think we all agree. Top to bottom, it is a diminished league in terms of overall talent, overall coaching, overall respect nationally. I mean, when you look at the SEC and a team like Arkansas goes to South Carolina and just gets obliterated, I mean, it's embarrassing to watch Arkansas. I mean, I'm not a big John Calipari fan. I mean, because of his antics, I know he's been a very successful coach, but he's done a lot of stuff over the years that I would, frown upon. But he's won a lot of games.
He's got a losing record now, all time at Colonial Life Arena. I think he's like 5-6 as a head coach in Columbia.
Well, I mean, but he's won a lot of games. He's a Hall of Fame coach, They get, just blown out by a bad South Carolina team. I mean, it was 20-something to 4 at one point. I think maybe the plumber, Josh was there covering for us, so I think the plumber might have had something to do with it. He brought the Gamecocks some positive vibes that nobody else can bring them. But even with that loss and with a 6-10 SEC record, they were still in the tournament according to Jerry Palm. So how many losses is it going to take in the SEC for a team to be out of the tournament? And my point is, these people are giving the SEC such over-the-top respect that the belief is you can have 10-plus losses in the league and still get into the NCAA tournament, while in the ACC, I mean, you're going to have teams with maybe, 7 or 8 league losses not going to get into the tournament. It's the whole perception that has changed totally across the country about the ACC. Now, I don't know what they do about it. I mean, because, Clemson going to the playoffs, that's expected in football. That's expected now every year. Same thing for Florida State, even though they had a down year. Same thing for Miami. But those two haven't come through. At least Clemson is still coming through on a pretty regular basis. They missed 1 year there, missed a couple of years, but they got in this past year, and that's expected. But, until like Virginia Tech starts pulling its weight in football, until Virginia gets back to playing high-level football. Now, Syracuse had a good year this past season, and they showed some promise, but they lose their quarterback. They had a great quarterback in Kyle McCord. You got to go find another great quarterback to fit in who can do the same thing. So until some of those middle-of-the-road teams pick it up and start playing at a high level, they're just going to be looked at as a very average conference with maybe 1 or 2 good teams at the top.
Oh, exactly right. And you look at the ACC for basketball in particular, that used to be the most dominant conference in the country. I mean, everybody looked to the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. It's must-see TV, and I don't know that people are starting to view it. This year, the conference tournament, I'm sure everybody wants to watch, is the Southeastern Conference, not the Atlantic Coast Conference. And I think part of it, Phil, you touched on it, the coaching. Look at the coaching across the board in the Southeastern Conference now for men's basketball versus what you have in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I mean, no knock on him, but Brad Brownell is going to be the veteran head coach in that league come next year when Leonard Hamilton wraps up this season. I mean, it's a remarkable job that Brad has done at Clemson, and he's got a very, very good basketball team. But I don't know that nationally he's the guy that's going to move the needle. He's not Mike Krzyzewski. He's not Roy Williams. He is not, go across the board, Tony Bennett. I mean, he's not Jim Boeheim. I mean, those coaches are no longer there, but they're in the SEC now. You talked about John Calipari, who is still coaching an Arkansas team that's not very good. But that being said, he's still a name. And Bruce Pearl, say what you want to, and I'm not a fan of Bruce Pearl, but he is a name. Mm-hmm. Nate Oates, I'm not a fan of Nate Oates. He's a name. I mean, these are coaches in now or national brands that the Atlantic Coast Conference just does not have anymore in men's basketball.
All right, so that is a story that came out early this morning. ESPN broke the story that they had 3 different reporters covering the story this morning, breaking the information about the Board of Trustees meetings and the ACC presidents meetings and all of them coming to a conclusion and going to have their rubber stamp vote tomorrow to move this thing on forward. So that is where we stand there. Coming up tonight on the program, we'll hear from Eric Bakich, Paul Maneri from yesterday's final game of the series in Columbia. Also, Rick Sanford, former USC great, who is an NFL draft watcher. He's going to join us at 7:05 to talk about Nick Ebanwari's performance in the Combine. Some are calling it the greatest individual Combine performance ever. And so We'll get Rick's take on that. I saw one mock draft today that had Ebanwari going 11th to the 49ers. So he made himself.
Did he do the whole Combine, or did he stop before it was over?
He did not quit halfway through it. No.
Yeah, okay, very good.
I think we're the only ones that make fun of that, but I'm sorry. That's a mark against you, in my opinion. But
I think it should be. Absolutely
he's the NFL people don't give a rip about that.
Nope.
How about Debo getting traded to the Commanders over the weekend?
Wow, that came from out of left field. I would have thought the 49ers would have figured a way, but evidently they weren't upset about it. They think so much of Debo that they wanted to move him out. And I think the Commanders is a great landing spot for him because Washington was a team that's surging in the NFC, not quite to the Eagles' obviously caliber, but they're getting much, much better. They've got a young quarterback. You add another weapon to them on the outside, and Debo can play running back if necessary. I think he's a perfect fit for Washington.
Oh, yeah. I love Debo Samuel. I mean, I thought he was a great
high
school player, great college player, and, I mean, he's just picked it up in the NFL. He never even needed time to adjust. He just came right in and started to make it happen right away. And also tonight, 7:35, and we'll really go deep into the USC Clemson series with Coach Jim Toman just a bit outside when he joins us, 7:35. We'll have some recruiting for you as well. Hit the break, and we'll get to some phone calls, and we'll talk about the baseball series. Phone number 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. You can also text us. Our text line number is 803-900-4847. That's 803-900-4847. And, of course, if you're watching us on our streams, we'll take your comments there as well. Back in just a moment.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
Are credit card rates weighing you down? Founders Federal Credit Union is here to help, offering rates below the national average. Our Essential MasterCard is as low as 13.25% APR, and our rewards cards start at just 15.25% APR. Pair that with zero annual fees and zero balance transfer fees. Apply today and keep more of your money in your pocket. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to learn more or apply for a new credit card today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, South Carolina, get ready for the ultimate fishing event. Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour is coming to Lake Murray. Join fans of all ages at the Fishing Show, Watch Party, and Trophy Ceremony, Saturday and Sunday, March 8th and 9th at Dreer Island, both days starting at 1 o'clock. Meet the world's top anglers. Enjoy free food and win amazing prizes. Meet Paw Patrol, Sky, and Marshall. And the first 50 kids 14 and under get a free Abu Garcia rod and reel each day. It's all happening at Dreer Island State Park, March 8th and 9th. Get all the info at MajorLeagueFishing.com/attend.
These are the days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday. That's my
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Manic Monday edition, Sports Talk Media Network. To your phone calls in just a moment. Our poll question of the week here on Sports Talk is brought to you by our very good friend, Larry Lucas Insurance in Columbia. Give Larry a phone call at 803-799-1998. One good thing about Larry's operation is if you don't call him or them, they'll call you to check on you, to check on your insurance to make sure you've got what you need at the right price. How is that for service? You don't get that nice everywhere. Yes. Again, that number is 803-799-1998. So, some college football coaches are doing away with a spring game for a variety of reasons. Do you agree, or do you think a spring game is a necessity? 57% of the vote say they are a rite of spring. So keep them. 42.9% say time for them to go. You can vote on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, on our X at SC Sports Now. That is at SC Sports Now. Make sure you give us a follow so you can keep up with the stuff that we are doing. We will talk about the baseball series as we move along. We have our thoughts, of course. But folks are waiting. Take some phone calls, 888-898-2525, the number. Begin with Bobby up in Charlotte. We welcome you in, Bobby. How are you?
Well, Phil, I'm a little depressed after the weekend. Now, I do have to say, after listening to Chris talk about the basketball coaches, seems like we've done a great job in the SEC of just hiring the scumbags, right? We've got Bruce Pearl, Nate Oates, Chris Beard, missing one, Calipari.
Pretty much.
There you go.
Pretty much. That's why you're winning. That's why the SEC's become so great.
Exactly. That's the secret sauce there.
Absolutely.
So,
it's called
getting
it done. All right, that's what it's called, getting it done.
Exactly. A results-oriented business, not a process-oriented business.
Correct.
No, it's too bad, obviously, to see the baseball team go out like that. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge football and basketball guy, so we got the bragging rights on them there. But, I mean, to see a sweep and, boy, they cleared out Founders yesterday in the late innings. That was rough. I would love to hear sometime, and maybe you've had this conversation with Dr. Rick. Phil, I know it's a modern era and stuff, but it still doesn't sit right with me having all these Tigers in our program right now. I mean, it's funny because none of our players ever transfer to Clemson. Have you noticed that? Whether it's football or baseball, I don't ever hear of Ohio State and Michigan or Alabama and Auburn or Duke and North Carolina trading players. So it's just a kind of a weird dynamic. But listen, I wanted to get your opinion, guys, on what you're just talking about with the conference thing with ACC and Florida State and Clemson. Phil, my concern is I'm one of these guys. I don't want Clemson in the SEC. I want them in the Sun Belt. Send them somewhere else. If they got a conference in Siberia, send them there. And so it's like, for everything I'm reading, it sounds like Clemson and Florida State basically got everything they wanted short of just getting released from the contract today. I mean, because it sounds like they're gonna have that unequal revenue distribution. Then they're going to push down their exit fee in the years to come, and then they no longer are going to have to worry about losing their media rights as well. That's going to be packaged into this much lesser fee. And my other concern where it involves us, Phil, is, like you said, how long is it going to be before Alabama and Georgia and LSU look around and say, why are we not getting unequal revenue distribution in our conference? I mean, I think that could be, God knows, Greg Sankey and the SEC, we know it, that money rules everything. So how long do you think, guys, it'll be before we might start feeling the brunt of some of those changes when the big boys start looking around and saying, why aren't we getting compensated more?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought up those other points. We didn't get into that in our opening discussion about the other things to come out of all this that will be good for all the teams in the ACC as they look at the possibility of departing one day, if it ever comes to that, and the grant of rights. I'm glad you brought those 2 points up. So as far as the SEC is concerned, however, it's not a top-heavy league like the ACC is. I mean, when you're talking about the potential of 11 of 16 teams getting into the NCAA basketball tournament, when you're talking about the possibility of 4 automatic football playoff spots, that's 1/4 of the league, and the possibility of maybe another team getting in there, or 2, who knows? It's not, most of the SEC teams feel like they are pulling their weight. And so I don't know that you could say and just kind of zero in on 1 or 2 like you can in the ACC right now. And so I think that they're happy. They're happy with the situation they've got. $58 million per team. It's going to keep going up when the new contract kicks in 2026. It will. I think it's been projected to hit like over $70 million per team. So they're still going to be right there with the Big Ten making the most money. Where are you going to go to make more money? There's no reason to leave. And I don't think, I guess to their credit, Chris, the teams that have carried the weight in terms of championships and playoff appearances and all that, they don't seem like they're interested in becoming a winner-take-all situation.
No, I don't think so, but it's interesting that that's the direction they're headed, and it's because of what Clemson and Florida State bring to the table, and it's dominance in college football. And that's clearly what the ACC, they realize they've lost their grip on college basketball, and they don't want to lose what little relevance they have in college football. And I can speak for all 14 league members, I think, in the Sun Belt. We don't want anything to do with Clemson in our league. They can stay in the ACC.
I don't think they're looking at the sun. Be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds rolling in this evening. Our low temperature dips down to 37. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine, and a high topping out at 71. For Wednesday, that's the storm day. Heavy rains likely the first half of the day before we do clear out in the late afternoon. It'll also be our warmest day of the week, the high is 75. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting powerful storms bearing a threat of tornadoes are expected to punch through Louisiana and other parts of the South on Tuesday. That's expected to happen just as huge parades in New Orleans and other cities are set to kick off annual Mardi Gras celebrations. Israel has introduced what it says was a new ceasefire proposal and is trying to force Hamas to accept it by imposing a siege on the Gaza Strip. The plan is different from the one the two sides agreed to in January. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu referred to it as the Witkoff proposal. He says it came from U.S. President Donald Trump's Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff, but the White House has yet to confirm that. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 649 points, the Nasdaq dropping 497. More details at srnnews.com.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then, we're in a vulnerable place already, so you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle things professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, they've been out to my home. They've been out to my brother's home, too. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning did such a great job. And you know, maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're locally owned. A lot of these plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these vulnerable times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia. When I stop by a cigar store, I always look for my go-to cigars and stock up a few of those, but I also look for something I've never tried before. Well, at the Cigar Militia, we specialize in a lot of small boutique cigar manufacturers. Come in and try a Don Kiki by Karen Berger or a Makaji by Ty Williams. We are the Cigar Militia at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. Help us out, stock up, and review some of our boutique brands.
If you step onto H&J Cattle's farm, you'll find third-generation farmers upholding the legacy. They embrace sustainability and take immense pride in their craft, raising cattle purely on nature's offerings, without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. The result? Unmatched quality beef that's not just good, it's the best in South Carolina. Experience the distinct flavor of our finest registered Hereford and Wagyu beef. Visit us online at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Hun, did you see the power bill? I feel like we're trying to cool the outside with these old original windows from the house.
Yeah, they are old. They let the cool air out and the hot air in, plus they're really ugly. I think it's time we finally get those new windows.
I think we need to call Redbird Windows and Doors.
Oh yeah, think of the Miller's house up the street.
I got their card when I was talking to the Millers. Here it is, Redbird Windows and Doors, 727-0561. Oh, and let's look at their website too, redbirdwindows.com.
Give me that number again, please.
727-0561.
At 6, don't miss the vibe. South Carolina's pride, we're live. Sports Talk's the place to be. From the court to the field, we're breaking news free. Join the team, follow X for more. We're taking over, that's for sure. Corn's insight, Bergen's wit, Cohen's energy. They're the perfect fit.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk Media Network on this Monday night. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Back to your calls in just a moment. And, of course, want to send out our best wishes to our listeners and all the folks down along the beach where you got some fires that have been burning out of control for several days. I think the good news is that it appears that not threatening any residential areas, but still, everybody needs to be on their P's and Q's and wish everyone the best. But when things clear up, clean up, and you get back to normality, it'll be time to think about getting to the beach and having that wonderful vacation along the beach. If you don't have a place, to go to, if Bergie's Palace is booked up along the beach, he has one at the beach too. He has the Palace in Sardis, and he has the in-laws quarters down in Georgetown. So if that's booked and you can't stay there, then call Jimmy Smith, James Smith Real Estate, 843-237-4246, online at Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. and they'll set you up with a great location somewhere along the beach, Garden City, Litchfield, Pawleys, Myrtle Beach, whatever is your choice. 843-237-4246 online at PawleysVacationRentals.com. You were saying something?
I'm sorry. It sounded like I cut out on you for a second. No, our coaches, the Coastal basketball coaches, have been keeping a sharp eye on that, and several of the players as well, because, Coastal's not that far up the road from Carolina Forest, and several of the coaches live in that area. So they've been a little bit concerned about what's going on. And good to hear that it's starting to be tampered down, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
And hopefully this storm that's coming your direction, we're going to actually get here in Pensacola, I think, late tomorrow night. And then it's going to be back home on Wednesday. Hopefully they'll bring enough rain to help the firefighters out, put this thing to bed.
All right, a few notes and back to your phone calls. And we'll hear from the baseball coaches coming up as well. But several notes from this day. Clemson moving up to 11 in the AP men's basketball top 25. And that's the Tigers' highest AP ranking since 2018. Meantime, South Carolina women, they have moved up to number 5. So they're back in the top 5 in the AP women's top 25. That's a familiar spot for the Gamecocks, being in the top 5. That's the 181st time USC's been ranked in the top 5 in the AP top 25. For the men, it is Auburn, which got all 61 first-place votes, Duke, Houston, Tennessee, Florida, St. John's, Alabama, Michigan State, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. For the women, it's Texas, with Southern Cal getting 6 first-place votes, and then UConn, UCLA, and South Carolina, then Notre Dame at number 6 and NC State at number 7. Also, South Carolina's Chloe Kitts was named the SEC Women's Basketball Player of the Week. She had a great week. Furman's P.J. Smith was named the Southern Conference Player of the Week. He averaged over 22 points per game this past week. And Clemson junior left-hander Ethan Darden was the ACC Pitcher of the Week. He was outstanding against South Carolina. USC softball, got to be the biggest surprise in the country.
Yeah, no doubt.
Moved up to number 9 in the Softball America top 25. And the net rankings this week, close your ears, Chris. Clemson is 21. South Carolina moved up some to 88. Furman 133. College 140. Wofford 148. Winthrop 170. PC 238. Charleston Southern 290. Coastal 327. Upstate 346. And Citadel 361.
Who is the SEC Men's Player of the Week?
I did not see. If it's not a South Carolina guy, I don't pay attention.
How can it not be Colin Murray Boyles?
Yeah.
The guy scored like 1,000 points this week.
Yeah, you're right. He was great.
It was
Baseball
terrific.
rankings, Clemson in Baseball America 5. In D1, they're 11. In Perfect Game, they're 4. Boy, D1 has some high standards, don't they?
Yeah, no doubt.
Coastal Carolina in D1 is number 24 and number 15 in Perfect Game. The USA Today Sports Network's All SEC Awards, and LSU's Anissa Morrow, Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Texas coach Vic Schaefer, Coach of the Year, and Mikala Blakes won the Newcomer of the Year. Virginia Tech coach Mike Young expected to return next season with an increased NIL package. Sources told the field of 68. Made the tournament in 21-22. NIT the last 2 years, 13 and 16 this season. He'll have more NIL resources next season, according to Jeff Goodman. By the way, when Clemson beat Notre Dame to secure at least the top 3 seed in the ACC tournament, that kicked in a $200,000 bonus for Brad Brownell at Clemson. So, but here's the thing. This is going to be the thing for every losing team, right? We got to spend more NIL dollars. It's really not about recruiting high school talent anymore and, developing that relationship, and it's really going into the portal, and that's what I would do. If I needed to turn around a basketball team, I would go in the portal. I would find the absolute best player I could get in the portal, and I would make him just the biggest offer that I could, knowing that one guy can come in and turn a basketball program around. And I would just throw so much money at him and make his head spin. His head would spin.
Well, Phil, it's nearly impossible to argue that point. First off, when you look at what Missouri has done this year, Dennis Gates is the same coach that he was last year. He just has better players. And that's why they went from winless last year to being an NCAA tournament team this year. And then it also doesn't help high school recruiting when Rick Pitino comes out at St. John's after they win the Big East and saying, you know what, I'm not recruiting high school kids anymore. I need portal players. I need guys that could come in and help right away. I just don't know what the future holds for high school basketball players.
Yeah, it's bleak.
You're probably going to, quite frankly, you're probably going to end up playing in a league like ours in the Sun Belt, or a mid-major league or a Division II program. Show your wares and then be recruited by the high major if that's where you ultimately want to go.
Absolutely. All right, back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is our number, and we go to it's TBT, Tiger Bryan time here on Sports Talk. Hello, Tiger Bryan. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How y'all doing? I've enjoyed the show, especially this guy, that Bob guy from Charlotte. Yeah, he's doing all this. What gets me about Gamecock fans around my area? All they say, SEC. Tiger Bryan pulls for Clemson University. I don't pull for no other team in the ACC, SEC, Big Ten. What you know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't know. I'm just going to leave that with that. I'm too old to get in a pissing contest.
You believe in making Clemson great again.
Yeah, I am. I'm a Trumper, baby.
Right there, bro. Yeah.
You got me on that.
I got you.
Hey, what did I tell you?
Yeah, you called it. You called it, Tiger Bryan.
I sweep. Hey, my broom's wore out. I swept all.
Yeah, you called it. You said it was going to be a sweep. You called it.
I do. 3 out of the last 4 years, matter of fact.
Yeah, they have won. I think it's now. It was not. I think they've won 10 of the last 12 games in the series. I think that's what it is. 10 of the last 12.
Yeah. Well, I'm not close. I mean, because both of them had great baseball teams over the years. Like you said, Porter John, this here NIL, that messed up all the college sports. But we got to live with it now. You know what I mean?
Yes, you do.
I got a trivia question for you.
Okay.
One of my buddies, he's an LSU fan. He said, "What was Coach's name that coached at LSU, and they was he made them the Tigers and made Death Valley down there. Then they come to Clemson and made Death Valley, named it Death Valley the Tigers." I can't remember.
Did a guy from LSU come to Clemson and call it Death Valley?
Back in the day.
He was a PC coach. Wasn't it, Phil?
No, the PC coach gave Frank
Yep.
Howard the rock.
No, I thought he named. I thought he nicknamed it Death Valley.
We'll have to Google that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's back before I was even born. I'm 62 years old. Yeah, I was proud of my boys' basketball team. I'm telling you, that had me bite my finger.
All right, here it is. Here it is. You're right.
Lonnie McMillan.
Lonnie McMillan. Presbyterian head coach Lonnie McMillan in the late 1940s, after bringing his teams to Clemson for many years and getting whipped, he said the place was like, quote, Death Valley. A few years later, the name struck. So there you go. Lonnie McMillan. Lonnie McMillan, yeah.
Lonnie,
Lonnie, He told sports writers he was taking his team to play in Death Valley.
Yeah.
The nickname stuck after Clemson head coach Frank Howard started using it in the 1950s. The nickname comes from Death Valley National Park in California.
Oh, yep, I knew it comes from there. But, all right, you know what? This kid's like 38 years old. I call him a kid. He's one of my. I taught him heat and air all his life. He's made a bunch of money. He does. I sold him my side business. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done real well.
Yeah.
But you know what? What do y'all think about the first game, Clemson and LSU?
Well, I think today, if I were going to give you a winner, I would pick Clemson, and I would pick Clemson by a touchdown. I'd pick Clemson because when I look at it, I think, I mean, if I'm buying what I'm hearing and reading, I think they're going to be great on defense. They're going to be outstanding at quarterback. They're going to be phenomenal at wide receiver. They're going to be more than adequate at running back, and they're going to be hellacious along the offensive line. They're going to be terrific in the kicking game as far as place kicking. Now, the punter, really the only question mark on the team is the punter. Who's going to step in? They've had a guy there for several years. If he steps up, does the job. But he shouldn't have to punt a whole lot with this offense if everything works out the way they think it will with the quarterback, the receivers, the offensive line, running backs. I mean, and we got to go. We got to run. Tiger Brown.
One more question.
All right, real quick.
All right, what do you think about these teams not wanting to do spring games?
I'm all for it.
You don't want them to have spring games?
They are, to me, a waste of time. To me, they're a waste of time.
I go down and party.
I mean, I know for the fans and all that kind of stuff.
That's why you ain't never come down there and got chicken wings.
Well, I understand that. I'm working. I have to sit in the press box and kind of halfway pay attention. We got to go, but thank you very much. Yeah, if it came to a vote, Chris, as it has on our poll, I would say get rid of them.
It's interesting how you asked that. Are they a necessity? Absolutely not. I think you can easily get into the football season without having a spring game. And to me, yeah, I don't think, maybe it's something fun for the fans. But, yeah, the players, do they get all excited about the spring game? I don't know.
Here's what I would do. I would sacrifice – you get 15 spring practices, right? So I would sacrifice the 15th. And I would turn it into a skills day, fan day. So I'd have my team out on the field.
Lane Kiffin's doing.
Is that what he's doing? I'd turn it into
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. At Ole Miss.
Have a skills day, fan day, and show off some skills, and then let them sign autographs and call it a day. Call it a day. All right, thank you, Tiger Bryan. Going to hit the break and come back with more of your phone calls. Coming up, Rick Sanford. Looking forward to hearing from the All-American about Nick Emanwori, his thoughts on his performance in the Combine and what else he took away from the Combine, because he watched every moment of it. The College of Charleston baseball game Wednesday at North Carolina has been postponed due to expected weather. So don't go to Chapel Hill Wednesday. Be right back.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Some credit cards hit you with sky-high rates, annual fees, and surprise costs, but not here. Founders Federal Credit Union is proud to offer credit cards with rates below the national average, giving you more control over your finances. Our Essential MasterCard rates are as low as 13.25% APR. Our rewards cards start at just 15.25% APR. So you can earn while you spend. And the best part, there are no annual fees and no balance transfer fees, just straightforward savings, designed to keep more of your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your hands. So whether you're looking to consolidate debt, build credit, or just want a smarter way to spend, we've got the right card for you. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to learn more or apply for a new credit card today. Relax. You're with Founders Federal Credit Union. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller Brown. Did you know your will is designed for your assets to pass through the probate court? If you want to keep your loved ones out of court, a revocable trust is a great place to start. Visit lawyerlisa.com for more information and to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Hey, George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports. Let me tell you about something new we have going on. So now we can build your own golf studio in the comfort of your own home. That's right. We can come right into the Frog, to the room over the garage, to a dedicated space, and put your simulator in where you can play Pebble Beach, Harbor Town, and anywhere in between. True Golf is our partner, and we have some cool technology. TsunamiBarSports.com. Go check it out. Again, that's TsunamiBarSports.com. And let us put your favorite golf course in the room over the garage.
Okay, back here on Sports Talk. The South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame is going to recognize three outstanding, well, actually more than three. They're individual awards. The Felix Doc Blanchard Citizen for Sports Award goes to Mr. Jim Hudson, who has been in the automotive business in the Midlands for 40 years. And I think I've met him once at his golf tournament, but this guy and his family, they have been so involved in so many different charities around the states. Too many to recount, so congratulations to him. The Willie Jeffries Ambassador for Sports Award goes to Kerry Tharp. Kerry Tharp.
Well deserved.
We all know KT. The Commander, by the way, will be at the State House tomorrow. Not the State House, the Governor's Mansion. It's NASCAR Day tomorrow, Darlington Day. So looking forward to being there. The Bobby Richardson Sportsmanship Award is going to go to South Carolina High School all sports officials as a group. How about that?
Wow.
Recognizing all high school officials who get a ton of grief and not a ton of pay. They deserve the recognition. And the Herman Helms Excellence in Media Award to our good friend Pete Iacobelli, longtime reporter in South Carolina for the Associated Press, who has retired from the AP, though he is still working. So we congratulate all those folks. They'll be honored at the ceremony coming up in May. We'll be there for that. Of course, bring it all to you here on Sports Talk, but congrats to all those good folks. Back to the phones. Next up will be somebody who will never be recognized by the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame. His family calls him Triple T. We call him the Angry Black Man, ABM. What's going on, ABM? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Good afternoon, Phil.
How are you?
I'm doing great. First of all, I want to respond to that fella from Charlotte. Tell him we don't pick up trash. We throw trash out.
Oh.
I'm saying is we throw trash out. So I'm saying is it's like the old saying, somebody trash, somebody treasure.
Why a minute. You're talking.
That's why we don't pick up no players.
You think of former Clemson athletes as trash if they leave you and go somewhere else.
Listen, if they go, we throw trash out. If you cannot play, we throw you out. It doesn't matter if you're the Clemson, you're trash. You're garbage. We throw them out. So Carolina pick up our trash. Okay? I've been all day long, man. I've been sweeping, man. Folks that had me to sweep. Guess what? Your friends at Seawells, they saw me last week for the first time. They said, "Alan, where you been?"
Mm-hmm.
We told Phil that we've been looking for you. I said, guess what? It's a new year. Things gonna get up on the right foot. I said, we're gonna whip y'all this weekend. And Cal said, well, if it do, you got lunch on me. So tell Cal I will be there tomorrow to eat my lunch because I told them Clemson was going to win the series. So all y'all Carolina fans, it's a new year, a new day.
Now, because you're getting it for free, you can only go through the line once. There is a limitation on free meals.
Hey, he fell for the bait, and that's all I got to say. So Carolina fans, it was a one-year wonder.
Mm-hmm.
You won 3 out of 4. So next year we're going to sweep. We're going to beat you in men. We already beat you in baseball. We can beat you in football. We're going to beat you in basketball, men's basketball. And I'm predicting that we're going to whip you out in women's basketball next year.
No.
We're going to get down. We're going to get down.
You're going. But you know what? You're gonna have a hard time with the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice. You're gonna have a hard time. They're gonna be good. I just went over my view on Clemson. I think my view on South Carolina is, terrific quarterback, really good running back room, some talent, some big time talent at receiver and tight end. Got to rebuild the offensive line. Got to replace some really good players on defense. This is true, but I still think if you live by the portal, can you be fortunate again? I think maybe they got some good players out of the portal, so they'll be tough at home. You're just not gonna waltz into Williams-Brice and dance on their graves.
Hey Phil.
Yes.
The last thing I got to say is USC basketball. They don't have no point guard. I'm going to make a recommendation to Coach Parrish. You need to go down to Lower Richland High School and make a JoJo English a deal he could refuse. The year when he was at Sumter High School, he won a state championship with a freshman point guard and a sophomore. He knew how to develop point guards. And they need to go to New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. and find your point guard. And you'll win. So, the last thing I want to say is on that coin flip, it was rigged.
Oh.
It was fixed for Carolina. It was fixed. It was rigged.
Well, I did say that Dawn gets what Dawn wants, and
it was rigged.
She wanted to win that coin flip. And how is it? Now, when you do a coin flip, and I'll ask an honest opinion here. So you flip it, and you catch it, and then you flip it again when you go over. Now, is that fair to flip it again? Or should he have just opened his hand?
The flip was on both sides. It was both Gamecock symbols. You didn't see that. Take care.
Gamecock on both sides. But seriously, when you do a coin flip, if you're not going to let it hit the ground, it should have just hit the ground. If you're going to catch it, should you open your hand and wherever it's flattened out, that's it? But, I mean, he flipped it again.
Doesn't matter.
He flipped it again.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
He
didn't
flipped
see it, until
it again.
But if it were rigged, Texas would have won. That's what the SEC would have liked.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Trump announces a major investment in the U.S. economy from a Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturer.
We have some good people. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time to build state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facilities. I think mostly it's going to be in Arizona, which is what I understand, which is a great state.
TSMC, the world's biggest semiconductor manufacturer, had already announced plans to invest more than $65 billion in the U.S. The announcement comes on top of the Trump administration imposing 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. A prominent Washington, D.C. tax policy expert says many in Congress believe extending the Trump tax cuts is the key to economic growth.
But when you combine that with the deregulatory efforts and so many other things being proposed with DOGE and just this kind of new sense of optimism in Washington around fiscal responsibility again and budget cuts, and how do we tackle this debt? Growth is always going to be a key element, and that's what we hear from our legislators every day.
Jonathan Williams is with ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Israel has introduced what it said was a new U.S. ceasefire plan and is trying to force Hamas to accept it by imposing a siege on the Gaza Strip. The plan is different from the one the two sides agreed to in January. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu referred to it as the Witkoff proposal. He says it came from President Trump's Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, but the White House has yet to confirm that. On Wall Street, a down day as the Dow drops 649 points, the Nasdaq lower by 497. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the mountains or go pick up your dry cleaning? RV wins! Are we cleaning the gutters or taking the RV camping? RV wins! Are we getting a new passport or cruising up the coast? RV wins!
Don't forget, you got that trip to Sweden coming up.
Oh, yeah, passport, then RV.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
A shocking turn took place today in an Illinois courtroom.
The man accused of opening fire at an Independence Day parade in suburban Chicago in 2022 has pleaded guilty to murder and attempted murder moments ahead of opening arguments for his Monday trial. 23-year-old Robert Cremo did not address the court. The shooting left 7 people dead and wounded more than 40. Sentencing on his guilty plea will come April 23rd. Cremo is certain to spend the rest of his life behind bars. I'm Julie Walker.
Former U.S. Congressman Lincoln Diaz-Balart, a Cuban-American who fought tirelessly for a free Cuba and who spent 18 years in Congress, has died after battling cancer. His family said the 70-year-old Diaz-Balart died on Monday. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds rolling in this evening. Our low temperature dips down to 37. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine, and a high topping out at 71. For Wednesday, that's the storm day. Heavy rains likely the first half of the day before we do clear out in the late afternoon. It'll also be our warmest day of the week, the high is 75. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Talk Media Network, your favorite sports talk show for over 41 years, headed toward football season number 42 in August, September, and only getting better by the day. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. Okay, we've got a lot to do. Recruiting is coming up. Jim Toman, we'll hear from the baseball coaches We're going to save a lot of our talk about the baseball series for when Coach Toman joins us here at the bottom of the hour. Over the last week at the Combine in Indianapolis, South Carolina's Nick Emanwori, he took the place by storm. I mean, people just marveled at what they saw. Speed, his vertical, his size, everything that we saw here locally, the rest of the country got to see, though you could always watch it on television, of course, but they got a chance to see it up close, and they were just amazed. So I can only think of one other safety from our state to fit that category of remarkable, outstanding, incredible. And, of course, I'm talking about All-American, number 1 draft choice, number 25 on his back, but number 1 in your heart from the football capital of the world and also the All-American city. He is Dr. Rick Sanford.
God, Phil, I don't even know how I could outdo that.
You can't. You can't touch it. You cannot touch it. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Phil. I hope you are, and I hope Chris is, and I hope everything's great with Sports Talk.
It is going fine, and thank you so much. Appreciate you taking a few minutes when it comes to the draft. I think about you, and we're going to tap into your resources over the next several months leading up to the draft. But with the Combine, I know you were locked in. And what did you think of what Emanwori did during his time there?
Well, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, a guy's, 6'3" and 220 pounds and runs a 4.38 40, which is probably pretty much unheard of for a guy that big. You see guys that can run 4.3 and those that are, 190 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, but you just don't see that. And then he tops it off with a vertical that, what was that, 42 inches or something like that? I mean, it was we knew he was going to test great. I mean, he's a great athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no doubt about athleticism. I mean, that's, off the charts, the athleticism. But, the bottom line is you got to be a football player. And my biggest thing with Emanwori is, as I look at everything going forward, Phil, is that I hope that he did well in the interviews. Because if he did well in the interviews, I think he's probably a first-round pick now, but I think he's probably a more sure first-round pick if he did great in his interviews.
Well, I saw one mock today that had him number 11 with the 49ers. Now, why are you putting so much weight on the interviews? What are they seeking in those interviews?
Well, I go back to when I came out, Phil, and I thought the interviews were extremely important. What they're doing is they're trying to find out how you're going to be a fit in their organization, and they're asking you, specific questions and certain things about their community. Even I remember going back and thinking, why are they asking me that question about Indianapolis or well, it was Baltimore at the time. But why are they asking me that question about, Los Angeles? It's just, they want to find out how you're going to be a fit, not only in the locker room, but how you're going to be a fit in the community, because that's extremely important to them. You think about the money that they're investing in you, okay? Mm-hmm. Particularly now. Back then, they weren't investing that kind of money. But think about the money that you're, as a first-round draft pick now that they're going to invest in you. And, of course, the higher you get drafted in that first round, the more money that you're going to be guaranteed. So they're going to make an intelligent decision, or what they deemed an intelligent decision, based upon, those interviews. And so I think that's a big overlooked part of what, why some guys fall and why some guys rise in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Do you think coming out of the Combine, these guys like Emanwori, the guys who are going to be first rounders, do you think they have a pretty good idea about who's going to take them, or is it you still think they're in the dark and it's still anybody's guess about, except for maybe the top 2 or 3 picks, anybody's guess on where you might fall?
Well, Phil, I will tell you that I mean, when I came out, I'll never forget. I was very close with one of the Miami Dolphins assistant coaches, and he was also their special teams coach. But he said to me, prior to the draft, he said, Rick, we love everything about you. He said, but we just know you're not going to be available on our pick. And so, but we want to wish you well and all that. Well, guess what, Phil? The Miami Dolphins had a pick, and I was still available.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Yes. They picked 21st my year, okay? And I thought for sure. I said, okay, this is it. And never heard a phone call, Phil. So
were you upset?
Kind of bizarre.
Were you upset?
Yeah, I was upset. Yeah, I was very upset. And then, I came to find out, because I played in the AFC East with the Patriots, but I came to find out later on that, I actually saw that coach twice a year, with the Dolphins, and he actually apologized to me. Yeah, when we played them, he came over to me the first time, my rookie year, and he said, Rick, I owe you an apology. And I said, you don't owe me an apology. It is what it is, and he said, well, I owe you an apology, but he said, we are so starved on the offensive line that we had to pick an offensive lineman. But he said, if we wanted to pick you, but we just could not justify it. And I said, well, sure, loss. It's up to you.
Now, was Shula the coach?
Yes, Don. And I'll never forget. I'm glad you mentioned that, because Don Shula was the one that told me also at the Senior Bowl. He came over to me and he said, Rick, you're outstanding. You're this, you're that. And I can see you in this, in our beautiful uniforms and all this, and we would love to have you back there, but we know you're not going to be available on our pick. And I thought, okay, well, and so I kind of had a vendetta for Shula, after that every year when we played the Dolphins. But,
that's funny.
But obviously, Phil, he was a great coach.
Oh yeah.
I go back and they were a great organization back then, and I could never argue about that.
Sure.
Rick Sanford with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Rick, growing up a Dolphins fan, I would have loved to have seen you in Miami uniform, but moving along. Yeah. Phil and I have had a really hard time ever since it happened in late December of squaring how Nicky Manwari handled the second half of the bowl game. I think you were a little upset about it, if I remember correctly, when we had you on to talk about it. Cam Ward, another guy who's going to be a high draft pick, maybe the number one quarterback taken out of Miami, handled his situation the same way, sets a record, and then he doesn't play the second half. Does the NFL look into that at all? Does that factor into the way they would draft and evaluate a player at all, the way they may have handled their last couple of games with their college team?
Well, that's an excellent question, Chris, and I applaud you for that, because I think, honestly, I do think they look at it, but then they have to look at their specific needs. And I think it really depends on the organization. I mean, how well is that organization run? Do you understand what I mean? By that, I mean, yeah, I mean, is it a solid organization like, let's say, the Pittsburgh Steelers? That's a solid organization. Certain organizations are not real solid. And so I think they kind of overlook some of these, and they kind of tend to overreach. You understand? And so I think I think what they try to do is they say, sometimes we got to gamble, because look at the position we're in, and I think that's probably where the Tennessee Titans are right now. They're probably entertaining. We'd kind of like to get out of this pick, this number one pick, but can we afford to do that? Can we afford our fan base not to pick Cam Ward as the number one pick? Because really, Cam Ward's not the best player in this draft. Abdul Carter's probably the best player. I mean, or Travis Hunter, it's probably the best player, and then Abdul Carter. But then you got to look at what you're going to build your team around for the future, and I think that's where the Titans are at. So if they don't pick Cam Ward, I totally understand it. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to go crazy in Tennessee because, we got to get a quarterback, we got to build around this. But you've got to have some type of base to make that organization great for the future. And it just might not be the time for them to take a quarterback right now. So if I'm the Titans, just in my opinion, I trade down. I try to trade down to try to get me multiple first-round picks if I can, because I'm not sure, even though I don't think they're very good at quarterback, and I don't think it's going to be a great quarterback season for them, I think they could get a veteran in there and, solidify it for a year and then get into a good year where it's a great year for quarterbacks coming out, because I just don't see, outside of Sanders and outside of Cam Ward, this is not a great quarterback class.
Glad you mentioned Travis Hunter. I wanted to ask you about him trying to play both positions. I think he's made it fairly clear that he wants to be a wide receiver and a defensive back in the NFL. First off, is that foolhardy on his side of the coin? And if you were advising him, would you try and tell him to pick one side of the football or the other? Or do you think he can excel playing both?
Well, honestly, I think he is probably the number one wide receiver and the number one defensive back in this draft, quite honestly. And I think what he is in watching him play this year, because I watched him because he's an intriguing athlete. He's an amazing, just the things that he can do are not normal on both sides of the football. Okay, but I do think he's probably a cornerback first and then a wide receiver second. But you know what? If I'm a team, I utilize him on both sides of the football. I mean, there's no doubt that I'll utilize him on both sides of the football. And people say, well, professional football, you can't do that. Well, why not if you've got a guy that you have seen that even has the possibility of doing that? So I think that he can be an outstanding cornerback. There's no doubt. You go back and look at his film this year, he is the best cornerback in this draft. There's no doubt in my mind. Wide receiver, you could question it with the McMillan kid from Arizona and these type of things. But, how can you pass up a kid that is that valuable on both sides of the football? Because you got to score points to win. And so you got to interject him somewhere, whoever gets him. And I'm hoping it's New England, honestly. But, I mean, you've got to be able to interject him into your offense at some point. I mean, if you don't, I think you're just being foolish.
Last thing, we'll let you go for this segment. Anybody else, Eman Worry, of course, was our focus, but you pick up anything else? I think Josh Simon had a really good performance from a South Carolina standpoint. Clemson didn't have that many. They had 6 there. South Carolina had 11. But from either side, Clemson or Carolina, anybody else really kind of stick out in your mind from what you witnessed or read about from the combine?
Well, I think Simon really helped himself, Phil. And I always thought that Simon was a very, very underrated player. I think he can be a great pro player. I really do. I think he can be a guy that you can split out, into the slot, and he's like a first down maker to me. I mean, but he has the ability to where he can beat you deep as well. So I think Simon is really an underrated talent. I really do, and I suspect he's probably a third round guy, or maybe a third day early guy. I would take him, I'd take him on the second day, quite honestly, because I think he showed me during this season and also during the combine that if you give him the opportunity and slot him into the right positions and the right offense, it reminds me of the Lively kid from Coastal, with the Ravens. He's just similar to that. But I think he's probably a better blocker than that kid is. But Lively's been a great player. So, I mean, I think Simon was the one guy who surprised me. I was a little surprised with Kennard, and I think Kennard's going to be a great player. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's got a chance to sneak in, to the back end of the first round. I think he's more of a second-day guy right now, Phil. But I think that as you look at his performance at the Combine, wasn't overwhelming. And I thought he needed to kind of be more overwhelming, something that could catch people's eye more so to put him into the first round. So I look at Kennard as more of a mid-second round right now to a lower second round.
Great stuff, Doctor. And I'll get with you later this week and decide what kind of schedule you want to do with us to talk the draft, because this is fascinating stuff. We love it.
Is.
And
Thanks,
so,
well, thank you. I thoroughly enjoy it. You know me, Phil. I'm like a draft Nick.
You are.
So I enjoy and I guess it's because I was fortunate enough to be a draft pick. That I've enjoyed it.
All right, we got to run. You know the drill. We'll talk to you. Be right back.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Hey, South Carolina, get ready for the ultimate fishing event. Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour is coming to Lake Murray. Join fans of all ages at the Fishing Show, Watch Party, and Trophy Ceremony, Saturday and Sunday, March 8th and 9th at Dreer Island, both days starting at 1 o'clock. Meet the world's top anglers. Enjoy free food and win amazing prizes. Meet Paw Patrol, Sky, and Marshall. And the first 50 kids 14 and under get a free Abu Garcia rod and reel each day. It's all happening at Dreer Island State Park, March 8th and 9th. Get all the info at MajorLeagueFishing.com/attend.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryan here with Tsunami Bar Sports and some great spring golf news. If you're ready to mash your tater, I think you need a Laginator. And if you want to get more speed and crack the whip, it's time for a mini stick. So TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 to get 10% off the Laginator and the mini stick. That's TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 for 10% off.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool, your drive-through coffee will be hot, and the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Let's go
All right, well, if you're going to get to the Seawell's Daily Luncheon Buffet tomorrow, you better get there early because, as you heard, Oliver won a bet with Cal, so he's going to be first in line, I'm sure. And he's going to fill that plate up. Tomorrow. But there'll be plenty. We advise you to go by and see the good folks at Seawell's. Enjoy a great lunch tomorrow. We advise you to call the good folks at Seawell's and let them handle your special event that needs the best in the catering business. 803-771-7385. Online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Some significant things this evening in recruiting. Running back Carson Baker was offered by Clemson today. Suspected that was going to happen. He was in for an unofficial visit for a spring practice. This is a guy that South Carolina's recruiting heavily, as are others. Linebacker Tyler Atkinson of Loganville, Georgia, plans to be at Clemson for their junior day Saturday. Wide receiver Ryan Mosley will visit Clemson Saturday. And South Carolina, March 21st, among his spring stops. Also will visit Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M, Florida State, Tennessee, Alabama, Penn State. Clemson target wide receiver Connor Salmon going to take an official visit to Stanford. Dorman safety Kentavian Anderson was offered tonight by Florida. South Carolina target quarterback Brady Smigel, Newbury Park, California, has set an official visit and an unofficial visit with Michigan, according to Michigan Rivals. Plans to take in the spring game in Ann Arbor April 19th and return for an official visit on June 6th. He already had plans to visit Washington March 7th, the Gamecocks March 27th, and an official visit to Washington on June 20th. Defensive tackle Elijah Golden, 6'4", 250 of Sarasota, Florida, plans to visit Clemson Saturday for the junior day. He also has spring visits planned with Virginia Tech, Alabama, Notre Dame. Wide receiver Brody Keefe from Charlotte has South Carolina in his final 8. The others are Notre Dame, Florida, Michigan, Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State, and Duke. South Carolina target offensive tackle Kamari Blair, Clarksville, Tennessee, picked up recent offers from Boston College, NC State, Virginia, and Louisville. South Carolina commitment linebacker Keenan Britt of Oxford, Alabama, was offered by West Virginia. Clemson target defensive end Dre Quinn has set an official to Southern Cal for June 13th. He has Clemson May 30th, Georgia June 8th, Tennessee June 20th. He also plans to be at Clemson Saturday and Alabama March 22nd. Clemson target defensive tackle Cameron Cody of Savannah set an official to Georgia Tech June 6th. He also has officials with Arizona State April 4th, UCLA May 16th, Indiana June 13th. Clemson target receiver Naeem Burrows picked up an offer from Colorado. USC target defensive tackle Brian Harris will visit Louisville March 6th. Clemson, South Carolina target offensive tackle Bear McWhorter, Cartersville, Georgia, committed to Michigan on Friday. And Saturday, or make it Sunday, or maybe it was Saturday, 6'2" Agat McKeer, Ontario, Canada, and Montverde Academy in Florida, committed to South Carolina over Duke, Michigan State, North Carolina, Kentucky, and UConn. She's missed a lot of time this season with an injury, averaging 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists per game. That's recruiting. We got Jim Toman coming up to talk baseball. Stay tuned.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds rolling in this evening. Our low temperature dips down to 37. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine, and a high topping out at 71. For Wednesday, that's the storm day. Heavy rains likely the first half of the day before we do clear out in the late afternoon. It'll also be our warmest day of the week, the high is 75. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Senate has voted to confirm former wrestling executive Linda McMahon as the nation's education chief, a role that places her atop a department President Trump has vowed to dismantle. McMahon will face the competing tasks of winding down the education department while escalating efforts to achieve the Republican president's agenda. Carl Dean, Dolly Parton's husband of nearly 60 years, has died. The country music superstar says her husband of nearly 60 years died Monday in Nashville, Tennessee. He was 82. According to a statement provided to the Associated Press by Parton's publicist, Dean will be laid to rest in a private ceremony with immediate family attending. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 649 points. The Nasdaq dropped 497. More details at srnnews.com.
Step into a brighter future with Broker Solar. Transform your home, your business, your nonprofit into a beacon of efficiency and savings. With Broker Solar, you're not just installing solar panels, you're setting the foundation for long-term financial savings, taking control over these power companies that, well, let's face it, they have a monopoly. You can't choose your power company, but you can control the cost of your power. Ken and his expert team will help you to navigate through any complexities of solar energy. They'll tailor a system that's perfectly fit for your needs and for your budget. Get a rooftop setup or somewhere else on your land, or just start with solar to integrate powerful battery backups so when the storms do come, the power goes out in your block, it'll stay on at your home. It's not for everyone, but if you're even curious, don't you owe it to yourself to reach out and call Broker Solar for a free consultation? Listen, if you trust the point, if you trust me, I'm telling you, you can trust Broker Solar. Explore your solar potential at brokersolar.com. Start generating power on your terms. Broker Solar, empowering you while shining above the rest.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Paul Grant here, Columbia's Secret for Weight Loss, here to talk about how we can help you lose up to a pound a day naturally. Unlike those other companies that use chemicals, drugs, dangerous hormones, pills, and things like this, we don't do that here. We help you lose weight naturally. Learn how you can do that. It's real simple. Call our office, 803-992-1912, or visit our website, columbiasecretforweightloss.com. That's columbiasecretforweightloss.com.
Results may vary.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Want to hear my success story? I'm Fran Halloran, the money coach. I'm celebrating a decade of partnering with The Point. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I've used The Point to significantly grow my small business. It started with a meeting with Kevin Cohen. Do you own a small business? Are you on a limited budget? No problem. Reach out to Kev at 563-8558. Get a customized plan and start your journey to business growth with The Point today. Success is one call away. Take the leap.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Okay, over the weekend, all Clemson over South Carolina. 22,116 total attendance. Congratulations to everybody. Great event. Probably the, second biggest event between the schools. Maybe men's basketball might be second. The baseball series certainly is right up there. Clemson wins all three games 5-3. 5-1, 8-2 to sweep the series. Before we bring in Coach Toman, let's hear a little bit from the two head coaches, beginning with the winning coach, Eric Bakich.
All right, just awful proud of our team. I mean, on behalf of our coaches, and I'm sure I speak for all of Tiger Nation, just, it's not easy to come in here and play as well as we did, and especially when you have an opportunity to get the sweep and to be able to put an exclamation mark on the weekend, and, just incredible effort all the way around, and so many positives today. 6 2-out RBIs. Joe Allen coming in and just pitching unbelievable in relief. A lot of storylines, some huge clutch hits. Colin Priest, 3-run, 2-out homer. Cam's 2-run, 2-out single in the 9th. Gaffney extending with a 2-out RBI. I mean, just incredible stuff. 7 of our 8 runs with 2 outs and 6 2-out RBIs. So can't say enough about the pitching. Can't say enough about the clutch hitting. And we played, outside of the mishap there in the 8th with the ball that got away with the throw. Pretty good defense tonight as well. So just proud of our guys, and obviously this is a big deal for all of the Clemson family and Tiger Nation, and happy we can contribute to being able to say that we took care of business with the rivalry this year.
Your first sweep here since you've been here. What's that mean for this program and to you?
Well, I mean, it's just something that we prioritize so much. It's just something we talk about and focus on all year long. I mean, it's just part of the fabric of being a Clemson Tiger. And it's one of the reasons you come to Clemson is to play in rivalry games against South Carolina. And so it means a lot. It means a lot in every sport. And so when you can shine a positive light on Clemson and take care of business against the rival and get the bragging rights all year long, I mean, it's just doesn't get much better than that.
All right, a few comments there from Coach Bakich. Now to Coach Maneri inside the interview room at South Carolina. Moments after the third straight loss to the Tigers over the weekend, Paul Maneri.
Those were 3 really tough, hard-fought games. All 3 games were like one-run games going into the 8th or 9th inning. So they were very competitive, hard-fought games, and we came up short in all 3 of them. I know how much it means to South Carolina people, South Carolina fans, and feel bad that we didn't come through for them. But there's nothing we can do about it at this point, except for keep improving and working on the things we need to work on. There were so many bright spots this weekend, particularly Jake McCoy and Dylan Eskew, the starting pitching performances we got out of them, the relief performance by Brandon Stone. There's a lot to be hopeful for, but obviously we're going to need to hit more than we hit this weekend. Got to, give some support to the pitchers. You don't want them thinking that any one little mistake is going to cost them the ball game. But they've been up to the occasion, pitched great, and it gives me optimism for the future. But we just got to figure out the hitting and get a little more thump there into the lineup and coach them up a little bit better. And we got a lot of games left.
All right, Coach Maneri, welcome in Coach Toman, just a bit outside. You heard the 2 coaches there a little bit. You watched this thing over the weekend. Your primary takeaways from what you saw from the series?
Well, obviously, Clemson's pitching was excellent. I mean, they had 27 innings pitched, 15 hits. Only gave up 5 earned runs, 9 walks, and 36 Ks. So when you only give up 5 earned runs in 3 games, you usually sweep the series, and they did. So it isn't rocket science. They hit better and they pitched better, and both teams played fairly good defense. But I thought Bakich's interview was pretty damn good. I mean, he's complimentary of the South Carolina program and knows it's a really good program over the years. And I think the key yesterday, 6 2-out RBIs. That was big. But basically, they have the bragging rights at Clemson now, and I like how they make it a priority, and they focus all year on that. And I think that comes a little bit. Coach Backett used to be the volunteer for Jack Leggett. I thought Jack Leggett always, just like Coach Tanner, always made a big deal out of the Clemson South Carolina series, and I think Coach Backett, when he worked for Coach Leggett, he saw how important it was to win them South Carolina games. So I think he's just picked up where Jack Leggett left off, and got to give kudos to Clemson for 3 straight wins. The games were pretty close, but it's only fun when you win. So it's hard for Coach Maneri to say much. He is accurate. I mean, 2 of the starters pitched well, and Becker's going to pitch well eventually. So there is some stuff to look forward to for South Carolina. It's not like the season's over, but South Carolina's got to they got to decide they're going to get back up off the ground and fight back, or they're going to give in. And I think I know what Coach Maneri is going to have them doing, and that's fighting back. And that's what they have to do.
But what can you do from a hitting standpoint? I mean, you either have hitters or you don't. Is it as simple as that? You either have hitters or you don't?
Yeah, well, yeah, it'd be nice to have 9 hitters that can hit, and it looked like in that series that South Carolina had 1 or 2 hitters, but it looked like Clemson had 4 or 5. I'm talking elite SEC, ACC type hitters. But, Coach Maneri, didn't win the most games in college baseball by giving up or giving in, and he's going to figure out a lineup that can score runs, and Coach Lee is a very good hitting coach, and they've got good hitters. It's just a matter of trying to figure out, okay, are we going to have to bunt more? Are we going to have to run more? Are we going to have to walk more? Are we going to have to get hit by pitches more? Are we going to have to be more aggressive? Or are we going to have to play a few different guys in the lineups? Are we going to have to play lefty-righty combos? You got some guys injured. But, I mean, that's what they get paid the mega bucks for. They got to sit down and figure it out. We've got to figure out how to score more runs, because 5 earned runs, I think 6 total runs in 3 games is not going to get it done. Even if South Carolina continues to pitch well, the SEC is going to be a struggle if they don't hit. And it isn't just hitting, it's getting, the idea is to score more runs than the other team. So hitting is part of it. But you also, if we can get on base a little bit more, walk a little bit more, get hit by a pitch more, maybe we have to be the small ball type deal and try to manufacture some runs. I don't know yet. It's maybe not to that point. But, if you look at, I think Clemson's pitchers had 9 walks on the weekend and 36 Ks, and South Carolina's pitchers had 17 walks and 37 Ks. So the Ks were very similar, fairly, but Clemson walked 8 less guys, so that means that, it wasn't as many base runners to score for the Gamecocks.
Well, the Gamecocks hit 160 for the weekend as a team, and that means, of course, hitting with runners on base, hitting with runners in scoring position was all way down, way down. So, I mean, they put a lot of pressure on your pitching staff. Their pitching, for the most part, was good enough to win most weekend series if they have the complementary amount of offense and runs. I mean, you have to play complementary baseball to win these kind of games. You got to have enough hitting to score runs to support your pitching. That's what Clemson had. I mean, Clemson, you go back and look, they did the most of their damage offensively after the 7th inning. They scored 3 runs in the 8th on Sunday. They scored 3 runs in the 9th on Saturday, and they scored game 1, they scored their 4 runs in the first 2 innings, so that's an exception. But the Saturday-Sunday games, they did most of their damage late. I guess they kind of
numbers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Based on the numbers, Phil, it's actually pretty surprising that the games were, very competitive and fairly close. Because when you only score 5-run run in 3 games, you don't really expect to win. But South Carolina was in all 3 games at one point by the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning, it seemed like. So it wasn't like the games were blowouts. Yesterday got away a little bit late. But for the way that South Carolina hit, it's really a positive on South Carolina's side that they were still in the games, because Clemson's pitchers were really, really good, and their offense was just good enough, and they had some clutch hits and some timely hits, which is more important than getting hits. It's the timely hits with runners in scoring position, like you said. So there's a lot to look forward to still. For all the Gamecock fans out there, stay on board. Coach Maneri is a great coach, and he's going to turn this around quickly. It's only 3 games. A couple of them, if they win 1, they're feeling pretty good. If they could have snuck 2 out of 3, they'd feel great. Don't feel good going 0-3. But look at the positives, and that's the best you can do is look at the positives.
Here's one of the problems, though. Excuse me. At least through the first few weeks of the season, Clemson's the only big-time program they will play until they play Oklahoma to open SEC play next weekend. So, maybe it was fool's gold. The 9-0 start looked great on paper, but look who they were playing. At least Clemson opened up the season playing some difficult competition. They got a pretty good read on their team pretty early. First weekend of the season, they're playing in that tournament in Arlington. Do you think that makes any kind of a difference to play some early big-time games before you get to this series? Did that help prepare Clemson?
A couple different philosophies on the scheduling part of it, but Coach Backus likes to test his guys early. I know a lot of coaches that like to test their guys early to get the speed of the game down, so when they get into the South Carolina rivalry games and then you get into the SEC games, then they're a little bit more ready for better pitching, better infielders, better hitters, better outfielders. It's just a different brand of baseball when you get into the league. And them 3 games against Clemson will show South Carolina what they need to do in the SEC. And obviously they need to score more runs. But the pitching was good. Defense was okay. The hitters can get hot. I mean, you can turn a season around quickly. And I look for South Carolina to, they're going to go 4-1 or 5-0 this week, and they've got a couple tough games. I think we got the South Carolina. They play Davidson, who has some good players usually, and they've been in some regionals lately. And then the Citadel, they play really hard against South Carolina, especially. And Morehead State, they're not a gimme. So you got 5 games, and you need to go 4-1 or 5-0 this week. You like to take one game at a time, but these 5 games are crucial for the players to get their confidence back and feel good about where they're at going into the SEC play. So we need to take care of business against 5 games that you should be favored to win, but they're not going to be easy either.
All right, this Clemson, this Clemson team. I really like, first of all, they're able to kind of run out the same lineup game in and game out. At least they have so far. Like yesterday, because of a couple of injuries, but he had 6 new starters in his lineup yesterday. Of course, a couple of guys dealing with injuries couldn't play, but he was searching for something. But so far, Backish has been able to stick basically with the same lineup as long as they stay healthy. But you got to like the mix of speed and power. Canarella has yet to start hitting. He will. Listy is trouble at the top of the lineup. I really like Purify. That guy plays with a lot of fire and emotion. Shufo's a great fielding shortstop. They have power in Gerald and Priest and Gaffney in the middle of their lineup. It just seems to me like they have pieced together an offensive lineup that will they can run on you, and they can also hit with power, and they can create offense playing some small ball if necessary.
Yeah, if they keep playing like they are, they're going to play in Omaha this year. That's how good they are. But, you did say one thing. Canarella hit okay this week, and I thought he came up clutch a couple times. He got a couple knocks in them games and a couple, big hit yesterday to really open the game up. So if I was picking an MVP, it might have been Canarella because he impacted 3 games and I thought he did pretty well. I know the Ethan Darden pitched really well, so he won the Bob Bradley Award, and he had, I think, 7 shutout innings. And Jake McCoy pitched really well. Okay, don't take this in the wrong way, but I know Tom Price pretty well. God rest his soul. I love Tom Price, but if you go get swept in a series against Clemson, why does someone get an award from South Carolina? I know it's the Tom Price Award. But I don't think Tom Price would be happy with getting swept 3 straight days against Clemson. I'm not really into the, what they call it now, the participation award.
Well, now, to be honest with you, it's about recognizing, regardless of who wins the series, it's about recognizing who the voters believed was the most valuable player.
I get it.
Somebody's got to be the best on a losing team. Somebody's got to be the best.
That's what I'm saying. That's just like in Little League when they give trophies to all the teams that suck.
No, it's not the same thing.
That's just my opinion. I'm fine. I mean, the guy pitched his butt off. I mean, he threw 7 shutout innings.
Yeah.
Pitched really well, McCoy. But, getting an MVP award, I know that's just how it was written up because Tom Price was a legend and so was Bob Bradley was a legend. I get it. But boy, being a South Carolina guy for 11 years, I don't care about the awards. I want to beat Clemson.
I get that. I get that. All right. Do you have any? We got about 5 minutes. You got any Toman tidbits?
Yeah, just a few. I just wanted to go over the in-state teams. College Charleston 7-4. They only went 2-2 on the week. Coastal Carolina, they've won 6 in a row. They're back up to 10-2. Now they've got to play tomorrow at UNC, and I got a prediction: Coastal or the College of Charleston will end UNC's 12-0 record. College of Charleston plays them Wednesday.
That game's been postponed.
It has?
Yeah, impending weather.
Wow, that's a little early to change a game. That sounds like they're saving up some pitchers for the weekend. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay, well then Coastal's going to have to end it tomorrow.
Okay,
we can't have Tar Heels going undefeated. Someone's got to knock them off. Okay, remember I did wear the red and white from NC State.
You did.
Anyway, but I actually look for South Carolina to regroup. Getting back to the in-state teams, North Greenville 16-3, Landon Powell's team. USC Upstate is 6-4, Presbyterian's 500. The Citadel is 7-4. Charleston Southern has a good year going. The competition hasn't been great, but they're 8-2. And I have a shout out to someone that's not in state, but this is pretty cool. Dale Francis Jr. I don't know if you ever heard that name before, but he's a senior. About 6'2", about 250, I believe, from Gardner Webb. You probably saw him play against South Carolina earlier. I don't know how he did, but he's their DH. He hit in the series last week. He was like Barry Bonds. He hit four home runs for the week, 12 RBIs, and this weekend they intentionally walked him with the bases loaded. And that's what they used to do to Barry Bonds, too. So that's pretty cool to have a guy that hit 4 home runs on the weekend, 12 RBIs, and they walked him intentionally with the bases loaded.
Against the Gamecocks back on February 25th, he went 3 for 3 with 1 RBI. Now, they got beat 14-4, But he went 3 for 3 with 1 RBI. I'm just
Yeah, if that guy had another year eligibility, someone in the SEC ought to grab that guy. But I think the guy's a senior.
Mhm.
He's hitting .409 with 7 jacks right now, and obviously he's a good hitter, a really good hitter. But it was fun watching them games. Being a former Gamecock, that was hard for me to watch, but I have complete confidence in the coaching staff and the players. I think they're going to get it going. That's a good measuring stick to where they need to be. And heck, if they score 3-4 more runs, they may win 2 out of 3. So it isn't, 0-3 sucks, but it isn't as bad as many people.
All right, but look at this. Once they get through this upcoming week and the beginning of next week when they play Georgia State, beginning March 14th, for 16 days to the end of the month, they will play 3 against Oklahoma. They'll play a midweek game against Charleston. They'll play 3 at Arkansas. They'll play a midweek game against North Carolina in Charlotte, and then they'll host Tennessee for 3. Is this team ready for what's ahead starting March 14th?
Well, I think what Coach Maneri would say is we take it one game at a time, and that starts tomorrow against whoever it is, Upstate.
No, Davidson.
Davidson, and then the Citadel. Okay, Davidson. Yeah, you just got to take it one day at a time, and you can't worry about how good the SEC is. You know every weekend's going to be a war there, so you just got to get the guys ready, and you got to fight. You got to fight more. I noticed Clemson after this week when they play Upstate on Tuesday, and I think they're supposed to play PC on Wednesday. Starting with PC, it's a 16-game homestand for Clemson. Talk about a team that's rolling, and they get to play at their park in front of their fans. 16 straight games. Pretty cool.
Good point. They got a weekend series with Davidson, then a 2-game midweek with Liberty, then Notre Dame at home, and then a 2-game midweek with the Citadel. This is interesting. I haven't seen this before, where they're playing these in-state teams at home on back-to-back days. Well, Liberty's not in-state. Then 3 at home against Wake, then a home game with Coastal, and a home game with PC back-to-back. Interesting scheduling philosophy there by Eric Backich.
So some of that might be it's Liberty spring break, and then the next week it's the Citadel spring break or something like that, so they're not missing school days or something, or maybe they don't care about the school, they just want to play. But, that is unusual to double up like that.
Certainly not Liberty, not that high academic institution of Liberty.
Hey, if I was at Liberty, I would have had a 4.0 GPA, and that is a 1.0 for 4 straight years. I'd have had at least that.
Well, your team ERA was 4.0, and you're a part of history. You lost to Coastal Carolina in the Big South Championship game in Lexington, South Carolina, 1-0. And had you won that game, Coastal would not have won the national championship that year.
Well, I don't know if they would have not won it, but it was 1-0. We came as close to beating them as any team in the last 3 weeks of the season that year.
Ain't no doubt.
So, and then I got fired about 2 weeks later.
Thank you for the memories. And we thank you.
Maybe I should have won that last game, huh? 1-0 to the national championship.
Hey, have a great week. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, buddy.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, everybody. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.